Hey, it's Tom here from Our Houseplants. Today we're talking about the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, otherwise known as the Mini Monstera. Hey, okay, so in most of my videos I start with the plant here, so you can have a good look at it, but this one is not fitting into the video screen. It's too big. Yeah, so we're going to show you some footage instead, so let's get going. This is my Mini Monstera. I've had it now for 2, maybe 3 years. They are quick growing plants. If you give them the right care, which we're going to be covering in this video, I don't see why you couldn't grow a plant like this either. They are really straightforward. Nothing special. I'm not doing anything crazy. It's just your average standard houseplant care, pretty much. So I think anyone could grow it. Despite the name Mini Monstera, it's not actually a Monstera plant. It's actually something quite different. It does have some similarities though. There are some nuances with the care, but yeah, not the same plant. No. What is maybe I should say what's familiar about it. So the leaves look like mini monstera leaves. The fenestrations come readily. You don't particularly need to do anything fancy. They will form quite easily. They're in the same similar pattern each leaf, unless there's a problem, which we will cover a bit later on. But generally speaking, yeah, they've got the same leaf shape, just a lot smaller. The leaves do get a little bit bigger if you have it on a moss stick or a totem pole like this, and they get a little bit bigger, but nothing insane. They're not going to be as big as not even in the same league as a monstera leaf. And the other similarity is they face forward as well. So it's on a vine, which we've seen already, and the leaves face forward. So they don't ever move around the plant. So it's going to be one of those plants that you stick on or put against a wall. So the leaves face forward. You can trail it up a wall if you want. I've done that with my another one of my plants, or you can grow it up, like I say, one of these sticks. Yeah, choices are yours. You can also have it as a pot plant, but it won't last like that for very long. It does need something to climb to look its best. Really straightforward, I think. They don't want full sun. They don't want to be in low light, but anything in the middle is probably going to be great. No, that seriously, it's very adaptable. This plant is upstairs in my bedroom, and it's well away. It's near the door. It's well away from the window, and yet you can see how quick it's grown. It is a southeast facing window, but the sun doesn't actually reach the plant. It's just bright. So that's kind of what I'd recommend, because that's been my experience, and that is what's given me explosive growth. So decent light, but it doesn't need full sun, and it doesn't want low light. Actually, I do have a plant. Yes, sorry, my second one. I have it downstairs in my living room, and it's very low light location, and it is still growing slowly, but nothing like this. It's much slower. So you can see the contrast. Low light locations or lower light locations are going to be a slower growing plant, but bright locations are going to give you more robust growth and faster speed. If you don't give enough light over a long period of time, you'll notice that the fenestrations on the leaves can be a little bit missing. I said earlier that the leaves have a consistent pattern. Each leaf will have the same kind of fenestration markings. Not true on a normal monstera. As a comparison, to give you an example, on a normal monstera, the fenestrations are very random. Each leaf will look different to the next. But on the Mini Monstera, each leaf has the same kind of pattern. They're sort of cut in the same locations. It's quite interesting to look at. But yes, so if there's not enough light, you'll notice on the Mini Monstera, the fenestrations can reduce. That pattern, that familiar pattern, stops. I do have a couple of leaves, I think, at the very edge of this plant, which I'll show you. Yes, you can see that that's due to, well, I believe it's for 2 reasons. One, it's not enough light. This plant is wrapping itself around a TV screen in the bedroom. It's hiding, basically. There's no way it's getting light in that location. So that's, I believe, part of the reason why. The second reason, I think, is because it's run out of moss pole. I need to put another extension on or prune it back. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. So I think because it's not gripping onto anything, the leaves have gone into a little bit of a seek location. It's trying to find more light. It's trying to find something to grab hold of. So the leaves are no longer fenestrated, and they're going to come out solid. So I actually finished filming this video when I checked my Instagram and I had a message that I didn't answer, and I'm really sorry. The question was really good. It was basically, Tom, I have one of these plants, but it's gappy. It doesn't look as full and bushy as yours. What's the secret? Okay, so if you buy these plants, they normally come as a single vine stem, and they grow like an internodal space, the gap between, then a leaf, another space, another leaf, and that gives it a kind of a gappy, sort of elegant look, which is quite handsome. I get why people like it, but if you want it to be more full and bushy, a bit like mine, then the technique and what you need to do is add a second or third or even fourth vine into the pot on the base. And then what will happen is they'll grow together, they'll interweave, and you'll end up with a much more full and bushy looking plant. And that is what I've done with mine. Let's talk watering. They don't want to be overwatered. They can have some underwatering, but they are weak to overwatering on that scale. So that's a way to consider it. That's what you need to be careful of. Don't overwater it, but underwatering is tolerated. The technique is like many plants, what I'd recommend for, which is water it well, and then you let it the top couple of inches dry out before you water it again. If you do that, you probably won't go wrong. So that's the sort of the guidelines I would suggest. You can let more than a couple of inches dry out if you want. Like I said, underwatering is tolerated. It's just keeping it constantly moist, constantly wet is when you're going to run into problems such as yellow leaves and just rotting basically. So just let it dry a little between the watering cans. I don't want to speak badly and I don't want to be controversial. So this isn't a criticism, but a lot of blogs and websites and other YouTube channels that are more generic will give you kind of very low range of temperatures of what these plants will cope with. Oh, they'll be fine in 16 degrees Celsius and this much Fahrenheit. Um, and yeah, absolutely, they will be fine in those temperatures, but that's not what they want. They are tropical plants. They want it warm. They like it warm. That's what they need. Um, this plant is in a location that gets quite warm temperatures from the sun coming through. They've got quite a big window, and the sun will come through, and it warms up that room really nicely. And it grows. It grows fast, and it likes it. It likes it warm. I think you need temperatures 22 degrees centigrade, Fahrenheit, higher and above for you to get explosive, fast growth. And yeah, so that's what you should be going for. I'm not saying that you should be putting heating around the plant to make it grow, but try and find somewhere in your home that's naturally warmer, and you'll probably get better results. And if you keep it somewhere in a dark corner that's cool, um, the plant will be fine. It just won't really grow very much. And so if you want a fast growing plant, if you want it to grow tall, then put it somewhere warm. Okay, humidity can be a problem. So it could be an issue. I don't know how to say this. So basically, I'm experimenting at the moment. So my house usually has quite a high humidity. We're talking like between 50 and 60 for pretty much most of the year. It's quite high, relatively speaking. Sometimes higher than 60. And I've had issues this year with some condensation, so I decided to tackle it. Now, this plant has been absolutely fine for the entire time I've had it until about a month ago when I bought a dehumidifier, and I've been using it in the bedroom. So, and that's where it's located. Um, most of my plants in the bedroom are actually succulent based, and they seem to be fine, but this one is not. And I've noticed extreme amounts of yellowing on the leaves and browning, and it's like cause and effect. I might do this video again, I might tell you something different, but I'm pretty sure it's caused by the fact that there is a dehumidifier basically taking out all the moisture in the air, and it is drying out, and I think that's the problem. So based on that, and based on what I've seen and what I recommend and what I've read elsewhere, you do need a reasonable level of humidity to grow these plants well. 50% is probably the minimum. If you start going below that, you might end up with some of the problems that I've experienced. Okay, so let's talk about feeding. Yes, absolutely. These are not particularly massively hungry houseplants, but they do want to be fed. Once a month, all purpose houseplant feed. No, yeah, that's what I recommend. It's what I use. I will potentially link below to the ones I use in the description if I can remember to do that. But yeah, just something straightforward. A normal balanced feed is fine, and you're good to go. All right. So you want to propagate? I don't blame you. These are great plants. They're fantastic. They look good, and you can give them away. oh, this video is getting on for a bit of a time. I'm going to do I'm going to speed up a little propagation segment so you can have a look. Basically, it's a vine, and it's got internodal spaces. You just make a little cut, and then you have a leaf and a internodal sort of section with a node as well. That's really important. The node is where the roots will come from. So you just have one of those. You make the cut. That's all you need. One leaf, one internodal sort of section, and a node into a little jar of water. That's it. Okay, so these are my top tips. One, do it in the summer. When it's warmer. They want warm temperatures. It just stands to reason that the propagation is going to be faster and it's going to be more likely to be successful when temperatures are warmer naturally. That's my first tip. Second tip is have patience. You propagate these plants in the same way that you would propagate pothos, for example, but they root quite fast. You could have little roots appearing in like a week, maybe two sometimes. These take a little bit longer. You could be looking at to about a month or so. If the cutting's not gone yellow, if it's still alive, it's still viable. So leave it. Just have patience. Just keep going, and fingers crossed, the root will eventually form. And once they get established, once they get going, the plant should grow fast. And my third tip is always try and do it in water propagation if you can. I think soil is perfectly valid for a lot of propagation attempts, including these. But if you are desperate and you're not having success, then go to water. There's just a little bit, you've got a bit of a longer period of time before the cutting rots. If you're doing it by water. In soil, the bacteria in the soil itself and things like that will eventually start to cause the cutting to rot away. So water propagation gives you that extra bit of time which they need. If you have any feedback or comments, please let me know, of course. And if you want more information, if this is not enough, I know I've done it quite fast. I have a website with 2 articles for this houseplant. There's so much to talk about. I have one which is about care stuff, which I've kind of talked about today, but it goes into more detail. So if you need it, go and have a read. There's lots on there. And the second article, which I will also link to below, is problems. I think I cover 13 or so issues. I've covered a couple today, but if you want more, if you've got more problems that haven't been covered today, check out that article too. I'll tell you from my experiences what's caused what, basically. And of course, you can ask me below, and I will do my best to try and help as well. And that's it. So thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you in the next video.